this client case study video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how we were able to help my client secure $98,000 in funding so he could acquire his first business and potentially make a lot of revenue within the next few years. Now, this is an interesting story because we almost came to a point where it went bad and we were kind of doubtful, like we didn't know how this is going to happen. But stay tuned, watch the breakdown to see exactly what we had to do to maneuver through this pitfall and how he was able to over exceed the amount of funding that he actually needed to make sure that he got his first investment in to secure a spot. Now, if you guys don't know me already, my name is Daniel Dixon Jr. and I help you access the working capital that you need to start, scale, or invest into your business. So with that being said, first off, go and click the like button below because I know that you're gonna enjoy this video and we appreciate the support. And go and click the subscribe button below too so you get notified whenever I post and you get notified when I'm dropping these gems this off. So with that being said, let's get straight to the breakdown. All right, so in this breakdown, let me show you exactly how I helped a first-time business buyer fund his first acquisition under a 2-week deadline with a profile that the banks call risky. And this was a pretty fun experience because it did not go right from the beginning, but I had to pull a couple of bullets out of the chamber, made some things happen, and we still got the deal done and he got it funded. So let's talk about the deal that was on the table. So during this process, he was already working with somebody and it came from referral and I ended up joining the deal in the middle of the process. And essentially what this client was going through was that he was joining a group of investors to acquire an established business, right? It was one, and it's even projected, he was telling me the numbers, it was projected to clear 7 figures a year within 5 years. So I was like, listen, whatever we got to do or whatever, I'm going to help you to secure that because I'm not going to let him pass pass that opportunity by. So to take his seat, like in order to make sure they got him with the group of investors, he needed his first round of capital. So this was kind of like the entry barrier. You know how like when it is to acquire business with the different investors, each person needs a set of capital, and that was it. I was brought into this in the middle of the whole situation, and so I had to deal with the hands that were dealt with me. Right? If you ever play poker, if you ever play cards, you're given a certain amount of hands to deal with, and from the time that he could potentially be funded until the time that he had time to actually make the investment, we had a total of 14 days to close this deal. So the moment I stepped in, right, the clock was already ticking. And at the lowest point, it came to a point where he needed over $50,000 in 48 hours. So unless you know how to fund, unless you have some bullets in the chamber, that is not easy to do. It's kind of challenging if you don't know how to go about this, but we still made the job done. And this is a pretty exciting story. So here's what the borrower looks like on paper. Okay. And when you want to work with us, inside of our business funding program, we make sure that we optimize you so that you look presentable to the banks and that it's not a hard no. You're not chasing the banks on why you should get capital. You're getting the banks to chase you on why they should fund you. So he already came with a lot of stuff that was already great, right? He had a 750s plus all three bureaus, so he was pretty good on the credit score. His utilization was very low, like less than 2% utilization was like amazing to the banks. And his actual depth of the revolving limits that he has, because this is something that the underwriter is looking at, right? They're looking at to see, okay, how much limits do you have on the personal side? How much can we compare to so that we can compare it to the business side? And he had a revolving line already over $25,000. One single credit card over $25,000. Okay, revolving lines totaling over 30,000, but he looked really great on paper. So this should have been an easy, fun deal that we should have funded. Now, the only thing that would stop him, I noticed when I first seen this profile, is that there was one particular flag that made him look risky to the banks. The thing was, this particular client, he opened up 3 recent accounts within the last 3 months. Now you're probably thinking, okay, why is 3 recent accounts look risky? Doesn't that make myself look more qualified to the banks because I just got approved for funding? It should show them that I got approved for funding, so I have a good credit score. Now that is the case, but when it comes to funding and across all the profiles that I've seen, past mistakes and funding wins that I've seen in my career, the one thing that the banks do, you have to understand the mindset is that their number one job is to mitigate their risk. And what do I mean by this? Is there's so many things that these banks look for to determine if you're a good candidate. And one of the things that gets an eye to the banks or makes them realize, we don't know, we want to be cautious, is having too many recent accounts open recently. The thing with that is you gotta look at it from the mindset of the banks. If you just applied for, let's say, 25, 30, 40,000, right? And cancel. I'm not wishing on this on nobody. But let's just say if you were to default or if a life situation happened and you had to use all that money and you couldn't pay back, the bank is thinking, well, if that happens, because they got to consider all the factors. If that happens, right? They're not going to get their money back. They're going to be last in line, kind of like a UCC filing, but this isn't a UCC filing. They're going to take last position because most likely you're going to be paying back the other people first. So with the three recent accounts, it gives us a risk because they're like, well, this client did, they have great credit, but it's like, what if they default? What's going to happen? Right? We had a certain amount of time to complete this deal, so it's like we're battling two wars at once. And me being thrown to this was like, okay, we're still going to get this job done. So when it comes to actually, getting access to funding, besides, like I said, besides the three recent accounts, the other things that you probably believe when it comes to getting funding is that a high score means automatic approval. And that this example shows you why, even though he had a 750 across all the boards, it was still a little bit challenging and almost lost our hopes, but we still pulled through, even though he had a 750 plus credit score. So it doesn't matter if you have a high credit score, you can still get denied by other factors because there's more factors that they look for, right? The next thing, right? Funding is just filling out an application, which totally false. You need to know the exact data points. You need to know exactly, the right way to apply, who to apply with inside the banks, because all that stuff matters. Not every bank is just an online application. Not every bank you're just going to the branch. Okay, there's a specific way that you have to apply. This is what we did for the client right here. And a lot of y'all think that if you just qualify one bank, you should qualify everywhere. Totally false. Okay. Each bank has their own certain metrics of the types of business owners that they want to partner with. And you have to know these things before you apply for funding. And this is what we take care of inside the program is that we know exactly which lenders you need to go with based off of your profile and based off which banks that they want to see. Then lastly, right, more applications mean better odds. And that is not the case. Okay. Now, if you're just applying blindly without a strategy, that is the reason why more applications is going to literally hurt you. And if you don't have a strategy in place, you might get all these business funding approvals, right? But it's going to be so many different products, and now you have all these inquiries scattered because you didn't have a real strategy in place. And that is definitely going to kill your funding approvals. Now, moving forward to breakdown, let's talk about the point where we almost lost hope in this thing. Okay. Now, when we applied for the first three banks, typically we see a great approvals from these banks. The client has some prior history with a few of these banks, and we were told one thing from the banker, then when we applied, we got a different result. So the first three banks, they didn't go well. And there was a kind of some information that I found out that I didn't know before actually applying for, and I had to triple confirm everything. So the first three banks didn't go well as planned, and we were in a spot, we were in a position to be like, okay, how are we going to still make this happen? Okay, we literally had 48 hours, and it was crazy. First three banks didn't go well. We still have 48 hours, and you still need over $50,000 to secure a spot, essentially make over seven figures a year within the next 5 years. Okay, this is a short time frame window, and this had nothing to do with his credit score. That had to do with a lot more with just his profile and his relationships and just other factors that we found out about later after applying for stuff. So let's carry on to how this actually happened. So what we did was we had to basically pull out the old reliables. Okay, these are basically lenders that we go for as a last resort. Still great terms, but we were like, listen, if everything goes to not accordingly, we still have backups. The great thing working with our company is that we have a strategy based off of if everything goes right, we know what to do. If plans don't go accordingly, we still have a plan just in case because we like to plan for everything. One thing is that if you try doing this yourself or working with another company, always make sure that you have a plan because nothing is guaranteed in business. I know y'all want to ask me the questions, well, how much can you guarantee in funding? I can't guarantee you shit. Right. What I can do is I can put a strategy in place and get you optimized to maximize your funding potential. Okay. But when it comes to a funding strategy, you do have to be prepared for, okay, if things go great, you're prepared for it. But if things turn out not how they're going to, what are you going to do after that? And this is exactly what we do for our clients. Because if we didn't have these lenders or we didn't have this strategy put into place for that situation, he could have lost out on seven figures in 5 years, and that would have been a huge income loss that even me just working with the client, I would have felt very terrible for because we couldn't even get the job done. So what we did was we chose the right lenders, right? And then we chose the right words to say. We had to be strategic on who that we applied for. Now, I actually forgot to put this into the video, so I'm just gonna record it now. The actual approvals that we got, so he got $14,000 with Chase. He got $10,500 with Bank of America, not too bad. We had a whopping low limit approval with Wells Fargo. We understood what happened, so that's the reason why the first three banks we were looking to already exceed these because he already had relationships, but we figured out why that wasn't the case. And then also, like I said, he had the recent account, so that did play a factor into it. After that, right, we went for two personal loans. We went with Lightstream and then we went with Prosper. So we had to pull out some bullets in the chamber. We still got some good interest rates on those. Definitely not 0%, but we were able to exceed the $75,000 that he was looking for, and he was able to get $98,000. Secured a spot with no issue, and he's very ecstatic, very excited for what's going to happen in the future. He only needed $75,000 in funding, but he walked away with $98,000, right? Roughly 31% over his target that he needed. So we got him 75,000. He got an extra $23,000. He was very satisfied. It was kind of stressful, and I remember going through this experience. It was. Now I'm saying it's kind of fun, but kind of being in like the situation where just like you don't know how things gonna happen, but you still have to have faith and trust your strategy, and the strategy still works, and we got the job done. Last thing I want to really talk to you about is that funding and strategy is literally not a form. So a strong store is going to get you into a room, but knowing which lenders fit your profile and exactly what to say on the applications is what gets the deals closed. Okay, that is going to be the difference between approval and a flat out no. Okay, so now if you're a business owner, right, and you're ready to fund your first deal, whether you're buying a business or you're raising your first round, the strategy is what gets it done, right? And what we do with our program is that we'll build yours with you. You have a chance to work with me one on one so that you can accomplish your goals and get to the next level. So what I want you to do is that if you're a business owner looking for capital to fund your first deal, you just need working capital so you know the ROI that you're going to make, you know the investment's going to pay off, you know the amount of money that you're going to make, and you don't want to do it wrong. You want to have a strategy in place. What I want you to do is click the link below in the pinned comments. Please call with me to work with me one-on-one. We'll go over exactly what your profile looks like and develop a strategy so that we can take you to the next level, access the capital, and do the things that you need to do. So with that being said, if you guys haven't already, go and click the like button. Go and click the subscribe button below too to get notified when I post. And you get notified when I'm dropping these gym sauce for y'all. And y'all get more case studies and breakdowns like this so you can understand how our process works. With that being said, I'm going to see y'all in the next video.